I can't quite believe it has already been a year. So welcome to my 2021 low by year wrap up. Today we're going to be talking about my motivations and the rules that I stuck to, as well as the lessons that I learned by doing this challenge in the first place. And we're going to be also discussing whether I'm going to be continuing this challenge into the next year. So starting with my motivations. If you're new here, my name is Imi and we talk about all things to do with sustainability, minimalism, eco-minimalism, and just trying to live more in alignment with our values. So one of my motivations for this year was to save money. And specifically because if you're unfamiliar with my story, I've been in a long distance relationship for the past 7 years. And this year we filed our petition to get married and move and live in the same country. And all of this costs a lot of money. So my partner and I really wanted to save as much money as possible and live more sustainably at the same time, so that when we are able to live together, when that petition finally comes through, then we'll have a lot of things to pay for, like flights, visas, deposits on an apartment to rent, furniture. Obviously everything will still be secondhand because there's no need to buy new things, especially if you're going to be moving again. So those were my huge motivations to try and save as much money as possible whilst also living more minimally and sustainably. If this sounds like something that's right up your street, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another video. So what has this low buy year taught me? The first thing is that it was a real lesson in thoughtfulness. And I mean thoughtfulness in approaching anything that I'm consuming or considering buying. It gave me a lot more time to find the things that I truly wanted to bring into my life and into my home. Be it a piece of clothing to enter my wardrobe or a piece of tech to go into my tech kit. By taking more time and being more thoughtful, then I was able to really truly understand whether that item would fit and whether it could be used with any of my cameras, or it could be used in any kind of setting that I'm going to be filming. Or if it's a clothing item, could it go with multiple things in my wardrobe? If it's a jacket, could that go with everything, or is it just a one occasion type item? And then because I took all this time, I was able to find those items secondhand, thus saving more money and taking time to ensure that this is definitely something I want. But arguably most important is that it stopped me from impulse buying, and it really forced me to consider what I actually need, but also what I actually want. I think that it's perfectly okay to buy things that you just want. You might not need it every day, you might not need it every week, but if we truly value those items and we've taken time to consider them and to find a sustainable way to purchase them, then I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting things. The second thing that it taught me, that getting a grip and understanding personal finance is incredibly important. I learned a lot about pensions, I learned a lot about ISAs and LISAs and general savings accounts in the UK, for example. There are so many schemes that you have no idea about, that nobody teaches you at school or university unless you very specifically study something like finance. I went to a private school, and even at that school I wasn't taught anything about personal finance, the importance of saving for retirement, or even just things that you can use that are great ways to save money in a tax efficient way. I was really shocked to learn about the amount of people that retire without any savings, and considering this is something that I hadn't really considered for the past however many years of my working life, it kind of scared me to think that I hadn't been putting any money aside for retirement. So that was definitely a huge kick up the backside that I absolutely needed. And on this journey, I learned a lot about other female creators who are talking about finance as their speciality. And there are so many things that we are not taught, particularly as women, when it comes to finance. Her first 100K, for example, is a wonderful resource on Instagram and her newsletter. Also, The Broke Black Girl, her Instagram is incredibly informative and empowering, and she shares a lot about her personal story, about how her mother taught her about personal finance and how that has impacted her life and her success. And also this year I've worked with a platform called Female Invest, which is just dedicated to teaching women about investing and how to do that sustainably and socially responsibly, but also how to get a grip and learn about their own personal finances. Personal finance is just really important for your own security, just in case something happens later in life. You have a marriage breakdown, or your partner passes away suddenly, or there are loads of other, perhaps less savory reasons as to why you would want to have your personal finance in order and to have some savings for just in case. I know this is a bleak way of looking at the world, but you've got to support yourself and trust in yourself and make sure that you know that if anything happened in your relationship or your circumstances, that you could find a way to get away. And that's why I particularly like Her First 100K and The Broke Black Girl, because they specifically talk about finance for every single person's situation, no matter how much you're earning. And they also give you a lot of interesting pointers about how to negotiate a higher salary and all of that kind of stuff. I'll leave their links in the description below if you want to check them out. The third thing is, my low buy year taught me that you can't buy your way out of your own misery. January and February were two of the bleakest and most depressing months of my entire life. There was a lot of bad news, lots of seasonal depression going around, some grieving that happened, and that is the kind of time where I would usually consider buying something to make myself feel better. And the more I sat with that, and again, this is that lesson in thoughtfulness, is I thought, I need to do something to make myself okay. I need to work through what I am going through rather than trying to put a plaster over it and buy something to make this wound smaller, which it never is going to happen. I think emotions really drive a lot of the things that I do, so probably a lot of people as well. And that's why if I'm particularly sad, I will, indulge in different things that probably aren't as healthy for my mental health as they could be. And that's why I specifically set out on a path on finding something that I could physically do that would help my mental health. And this is where my queen, Caroline Girvin, came in and really helped me on a path to recovery. So yeah, buying things certainly did not buy my way out of my misery. The fourth thing, this is just a personal thing, but it meant that I was able to donate a much larger proportion of my income because I wasn't spending it frivolously. I don't know how important this one is, but for me it was very important, and it helped me to realize products, for example, that I do use, just how much I love a particular one, because I ended up using them all up right until the end before even considering replacing it. And it meant that I would just repeat buy that same thing once it had finished because I loved it. I don't know why this is surprising to me as someone who does always finish the stuff that they buy, because obviously that's the most sustainable option. When I am coming to the end of something, I start to consider, how could I find a better option, or is there something else I could use? But it gave me, because I was more thoughtful before I even purchased that item in the first place, I did a lot more research, and therefore I did find that perfect item, be it skincare or hair care or whatever that is, that are consumables that I will finish. Because I did so much research and was thoughtful about that process in the beginning, once I did finish it completely, I simply replaced it with the same one because I had finally found that item that just worked for me. And that's the same for like SPF that I've been using, all sorts of things. I touched on this earlier, but the last thing is just simply doing this low buy year coupled with the decluttering process I have just been through really made me realize that it is okay to want things, and it is okay to want those things that bring you value. The most important thing is being thoughtful about that process and bringing items into your life once you've really looked and decided and researched and discovered this is going to add a lot of value to me. Even if it's just going to sit on my shelf and I'm going to check it every couple of months, if that adds a lot of value, that's fine. And I'm not going to feel guilty about some things that some people might consider clutter, but to me, that adds a lot of value to my life. You might not see it, but I certainly see it, and I'm very happy to keep that item for sure. Okay, am I going to continue this challenge? Yes, I'm going to continue this low buy year challenge up until the point at which I move abroad, and then I'm going to give myself a lot of grace because I will probably be spending quite a bit of money on travel and secondhand furniture for our flat, even though we'll do this process very slowly and ensure that we are not cluttering it up with stuff that we're not going to need and things like that. But also, I don't know how much deposit is going to be, I don't know how much rent is going to be yet. We've kind of drawn out a budget, but not necessarily very strict yet. So I want to have that money readily available. But that is the whole point of this low buy year, to find a goal to specifically save for. And that is actually one of the things that helped me save so much money and keep me motivated, was having a very specific goal in mind. I would love to hear if you are going to be doing a low buy year. If you missed any of my other videos, I will link them down below, but they are in a playlist, and I would love to hear what you learned through your low buy year this year, if you did one, or even if you did a no buy year, or if you are planning on doing one next year. Okay, thank you so much for going along this journey with me. It's been quite a ride, and I've learned a hell of a lot of stuff. As always, I'll put those links in the description below, but I will see you next time. Bye.